Okay, that's right, it's me again. Hi there, how the heck's it going? Great and glorious, soon to be famous one day. Nick Dutch back on the camera again one more time. Right, I've received a very long-winded private message which contains a great quantity of information. It's to do with a particular case of a alleged spirit of a type known as a Tulpa, a kind of a Servitor of sorts. This particular spirit was supposed to be called Anima. And there's an awful lot of information in this private message about this alleged spirit. And there's 4 questions which have been asked of me at the end of the private message. Now, I'm going to answer these 4 questions. But I'm going to answer them in ways in which I consider appropriate, not in ways in which I don't consider appropriate. I think it's very easy for individuals who are within the same kind of field as myself to provide what is essentially a religious answer to a question rather than necessarily a factual one, or one which could be a representation of what is, actually real, an objective reality. We aren't always dealing with objective realities. What we are dealing with is, on one hand, strange experiences which seem to occur, and on the other hand, folk mythology or religious mythology which seems to explain or express something to do with the strange experience, but which is taken as being an actual hard and fast fact by believers, and is also used as a tool to try and brainwash people into becoming believers into the same ideology. And I think that is wrong. Very wrong. So, let's start from the beginning. We have strange experiences, and we have folk mythology associated with the strange experiences. That's it. That's all we got to go by. So the first question was, if Anima wasn't a Tulpa, what was she? To which I would have to say, I don't know. We don't even know whether Anima as a spirit actually existed at all. All we have is the strange experiences associated with it to go by. So we got to bear that in mind. We could state a hypothetical, but a hypothetical is not an actual, it's a hypothetical, okay? Look it up on dictionary.com, hypothetical, okay? So that you understand what the word means. We could say that there is a hypothetical aspect of a person's mind, something which they have chosen to believe in as a result of a few strange experiences, which they are then using as a means of possibly psychically getting information from another source. But that is still a hypothetical. We still don't know. All we have is the strange experiences to go by. So there's more questions here than there are answers. So trying to provide a singular black and white answer to a question such as, if Anima, namely a spirit called Anima, wasn't a Tulpa, what was she? That cannot be answered if one is to remain intelligent and objective. Now, number 2. What exactly can servitors do? Can they be combined, like having a master servitor regulate how the others behave? With that question, you're moving into a religion, because it is a religious belief that these things are spirits which serve you. Okay, are you with me? We don't know whether these things are actually created. We don't know whether they actually serve you. We don't know whether they're part of another being. We don't know. All we can say is that strange experiences happen under some strange circumstances. And some magicians, in inverted commas again, claim that a particular spirit or servitor which they have summoned has had a particular result or provided a particular effect, which would possibly be identical to a fundamentalist Christian believer saying that their prayer provided a result, which happened to be, of course, the same result, or a result of the same type or kind. So what is the difference between servitor summoning, or demon summoning, or angel summoning, and prayer? Well, it's very hard to say. There is differences of states of mind, possibly, hypothetically, depending upon the person and depending upon the forms of action that they are doing. But these, again, raise far too many questions. If you want to try and assist yourself in trying to be more successful, it is hypothetically a good idea to be able to use a form of belief system or structure which you personally think is more appropriate. So essentially having a belief such as these are servitors, they can be combined, they can be a master servitor and lots of little servant servitors are underneath that, then fine. If that's what floats your boat, then go floating your boat. But again, in practice and from a factual standpoint, we still remain in the dark. Next question. What would you do to suggest to do to practice the stuff leading up to the creation of servitors? Servitors are things which people believe in. Therefore, you need to invest belief in these things, whatever they are. So, go through the process associated with building up a certain quantity of belief in whatever these things are. And that would involve idolatry, reading fiction about these things, writing fiction about these things, visualizing these things, imagining them, getting yourself obsessed by them to a certain degree, but don't go crazy, please, for crying out loud sake. And make sure you try and keep yourself sufficiently rational so that you can analyze whatever apparent experiences or results you have after or during or before the particular experience. So, play it cool, don't go crazy, but by all means be religious. I mean, servitor creation or the worship of a lesser deity, what is the difference in practice? And different traditions, such as chaos magic, Wicca, or demonology, have different conceptualizations as to how these things can be done or should be done in accordance with various traditions which have been passed down by people and, as by extension, invented by people. But that's all, okay? We're dealing with inventions which seem to have some kind of psychological power when used in a form of altered state of consciousness associated with meditation, ritual, prayer, and all the rest of that, because all these strange experiences seem to be connected somehow to all the states of consciousness. So learn meditation like crazy, become a good meditator, do chanting, prayer, everything, obviously in the privacy of your own home. If you're doing that at work, you might be considered to be a bit of a lunatic. Okay, so stop thinking like that. Okay, your boss wouldn't like you, and if you were to do that in the bank, you'll be kicked out. Your bank account will be closed probably, so I hear. No, I've never done that. Okay, do you have any recommendations for experiments I could run? No, I don't. I don't have any recommendations for any experiments that you could run. I would suggest that you start to experiment. And I would start with meditation and doing little things in meditation, seeing what can happen there. It's easier to use meditation to be able to generate astral projection type experiences and experiences of sharing dreams with people, for instance, and start with that kind of stuff. Think about manipulation of spiritual energy. If you can do that, then great. And then try and use that for the purposes of moving on to what you would consider to be the next stage, namely having something which you can then create, a little blob of light, which you can then send places. And if you do that, you may start to get strange experiences, such as the person you're sending it to having a dream about whatever it is you're sending to them. That happens, okay? So turning around to your friend and say, I'm just doing a bit of research into dreams. What did you dream of last night? And he'll say, well, there was this crazy creature, had weird tentacles that looked like snakes and like massive bug eyes, and it was terrible, and had like beak of a crow, and it was coming after me, and it was scary. And you think, oh dear, I'm so terribly sorry. My mistake. That sort of thing happens occasionally. It's weird, especially if you haven't told them you are going to do it ever, and they weren't even aware that you're an experimental occultist. It makes you, when you get these strange things when they happen, it makes you ask questions. But once you've asked a question, you don't necessarily have an answer. Alright? Questions don't necessarily mean to say we got an answer. Just like the natural scientists don't always know what's happening, what happened before the Big Bang, or before the whatever it was that was before the Big Bang, or whatever it was that was before the thing that was before that. They don't know. So they've got questions, but they don't have answers. And with all this weird stuff, we've still got questions. We don't have answers. None of us do. There's all these people out there who say, yes, I do have the answer, because I am, the great and powerful one. No, you're not. You're just an individual who's had a few strange experiences, or has started to believe some mythology that some other bugger has written. Okay? Get a bit of perspective, please.